the invisible chains, why these entities feed off your doubt, fear, and silence. There's a war happening inside us, and most of us aren't even aware that it's spiritual. We think we're just tired, or lazy, or unmotivated. We blame ourselves or other people or the world. But what if I told you that much of what you're fighting isn't even yours? What if I told you that you're dealing with ancient forces, energies that are older than your name, older than your trauma, older than your thoughts? I'm not talking about fantasy. I'm not talking about horror movie demons. I'm talking about real, intelligent patterns of energy that feed on your spiritual stagnation. They don't need to possess your body. They only need to possess your attention. And once they've got that, they build homes in your habits, in your beliefs, in your silence. These are the 7 demonic energies holding you back spiritually. And once you see them, your life will never be the same. The first one is the most dangerous because it speaks in your own voice. It's the spirit of self-sabotage. It's not loud. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It's the quiet voice that says, "Don't bother trying, you'll just fail again." It's the subtle avoidance that kicks in right before you meditate. It's the sudden desire to clean your room instead of write the book your soul's been aching to birth. It's the guilt that tells you you're being selfish for choosing solitude or saying no. The spirit doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to distract you from remembering who you are. And it's brilliant at it. It's been in your ear for years, maybe decades. The moment you try to step into your purpose, it triggers a storm of resistance. Have you ever felt that? Like the closer you get to your truth, the more chaos shows up. That's not coincidence. That's warfare. And the battlefield is your alignment. You don't beat this energy by trying harder. You beat it by waking up, by recognizing that the voice telling you you're unworthy isn't yours. It's a parasite. And once you name it, you take its power. The second energy is more seductive. It's the spirit of distraction. It doesn't need to scare you. It just needs to keep you busy. Endless scrolling, constant notifications, a to-do list that's always full but never aligned. This energy thrives on overstimulation. It wants your mind fragmented, your soul scattered. It doesn't care if you're doing good things. It just wants to make sure you're not doing the right things, the sacred things, the quiet things. The things that actually raise your vibration and connect you to Source. Have you ever noticed that the moment you decide to get serious about your spiritual path, everything else suddenly demands your time? That's not by accident. This spirit is a master of redirection. It makes sure your energy is always leaving you, but never returning to you. And the longer you stay distracted, the more you forget what stillness feels like. And if you forget that, you forget who you are. Because the soul doesn't speak in chaos. It speaks in quiet. And this demon is terrified of quiet. Because quiet is where God speaks. Quiet is where you remember. Third is the spirit of shame. This one doesn't attack your behaviors. It attacks your identity. It tells you that you are broken beyond repair, that your past disqualifies you, that no matter how far you go, you'll always be too dirty, too flawed, too damaged to be chosen. It's not just guilt, it's existential humiliation, and it's usually implanted early through religion, family, or betrayal. This spirit wants you to hide, not from the world, but from God. And the most tragic thing is that most people don't even know they're hosting it. They think their shame is humility. They think their silence is reverence. But it's not. It's fear. And that fear keeps them from praying boldly, from speaking their truth, from stepping into their anointing. I've sat with people who had more light in their soul than 10 preachers combined. but they couldn't see it because shame had put a veil over their eyes. Have you ever felt that? Like no matter how much you heal, something is still whispering you're not enough. That's not a personality flaw. That's a spiritual infection. The fourth demonic energy is comparison. Sounds simple, right? But this one is lethal to the spirit. The spirit of comparison doesn't need to make you fall. It just needs to convince you that someone else is already doing it better. It doesn't stop your gift. It just makes you question it. You start to feel like your voice isn't needed. Your art isn't deep enough. Your prayers aren't powerful enough. And slowly you begin to shrink. You edit yourself. You imitate. You silence your own essence. And here's the truth no one tells you. The moment you compare your calling to someone else's, you forfeit your frequency. You were never supposed to be a copy. You were never supposed to be palatable. You were made to carry a tone that only heaven could design. But the demon of comparison wants you to forget that. It wants you to dilute yourself until you're nothing but an echo. And the world doesn't need more echoes. It needs raw resonance. It needs you. Not the you that fits in. The you that awakens people just by existing. Are you willing to stop comparing long enough to remember who you are? That's 4. And they're already everywhere in our timelines, our thoughts, our habits. But there are still 3 more. 3 that hide even deeper. They don't just act on the surface, they build belief systems. They alter identities. They don't want to distract you. They want to redefine you. And if you don't know what they are, they'll keep feeding on your potential forever. But here's the good news. Once you name them, you can break them. That's why I'm here. That's why you're watching this. Not for entertainment, not for information, for warfare. Because the only thing more dangerous than a demonic energy is a soul that doesn't know it's under attack. But now you know. And now we're going deeper. Becoming untouchable. How to spiritually starve the demonic forces inside you. The deeper we go, the more we begin to realize that these energies, these demonic intelligences, are not random. They are precise, strategic. They don't just attack your emotions, your focus, or your habits. They attack your identity. They know that if they can get you to forget who you are, you'll live your entire life below your potential without ever realizing it. That's not failure. That's spiritual amnesia. And it's exactly what the 5th demonic energy was designed to create. I call it the spirit of fear disguised as wisdom. It doesn't tell you, don't grow. That would be too obvious. Instead, it says, be careful. That's risky. That might not be God. It wraps itself in spiritual language. It hides behind logic, and it talks you out of the very things your soul was born to do. Have you ever had a dream, a vision, a calling so clear, only to talk yourself out of it because it wasn't practical? That voice that told you to wait until you're more prepared, more qualified, more stable. That wasn't God. That was fear, wearing a mask. And it's one of the most dangerous energies because it doesn't feel dark. It feels responsible. But make no mistake, this is a demon. A clever one, because it doesn't stop your calling, it just delays it forever. The 6th energy is even more insidious. It's the spirit of apathy. This one doesn't come with fire or noise. It's not dramatic. It's slow. It creeps in through emotional numbness, spiritual fatigue, that feeling that nothing really matters, that your efforts don't make a difference, that it's all just too much. This energy specializes in disconnecting your heart from your spirit. It wants you to go through the motions while your soul is asleep. It wants you to believe in God but never encounter God. It wants you to pray but never feel anything, worship but remain numb, read but stay unchanged. It doesn't want you to stop your spiritual life. It wants you to mechanize it, turn it into routine, tradition, obligation. And when that happens, your flame dies, slowly, quietly, until one day you wake up and realize you haven't felt God in months. You haven't wept in wonder. You haven't burned with love. You've just been drifting. This spirit feeds on disconnection. And the scariest part? Most people stuck in apathy think they're just going through a dry season. But it's more than that. It's spiritual anesthesia. And if you don't wake up, you'll live your whole life asleep with your eyes open. And then we come to the final one, the seventh energy. It's the most ancient, the most widespread, and the most normalized, the spirit of division. This one doesn't come to attack your devotion. It comes to attack your relationships. It thrives on isolation, judgment, and superiority. It wants you to believe that you're better than others because of your beliefs. Or worse, it makes you think you're worse than others, and therefore unworthy of love. It wants to sever the sacred web of connection that links all souls. And it does this through offense, bitterness, tribalism, and ego. Have you ever noticed how spiritual people often end up alone, disillusioned, bitter toward organized religion or other seekers? That's not evolution. That's division, and it's powerful because it convinces you that your solitude is righteousness, when in reality, it's isolation. This energy doesn't just divide you from others, it divides you from yourself. It splits your heart from your mind, your intuition from your reason, your inner child from your higher self. And when you're divided, you're easier to manipulate, easier to keep small, easier to control. This energy hates unity because unity is the frequency of the divine. So now we've named them, all seven: self-sabotage, distraction, shame, comparison, fear as wisdom, apathy, and division. But naming them is only the first step. The real question is, how do we defeat them? And the answer is not magic. It's not ritual. It's remembrance. These energies have no power in the presence of a fully awakened soul. They only win when you forget. Forget your divinity. Forget your mission. Forget your access to the source of all things. You don't fight darkness by punching it. You fight it by turning on the light, by choosing truth when lies feel more comfortable, by choosing silence when the world is screaming, by choosing connection when offense feels justified. Every time you choose to be aware, you starve these energies. Every time you choose to act in alignment with your soul, you dismantle their influence. This is why spiritual discipline is not about control. It's about clarity. A clear soul cannot be manipulated. A clear soul cannot be owned. A clear soul becomes untouchable. But here's the paradox. Most people don't want this kind of freedom, because this kind of freedom requires responsibility. The moment you awaken, you can no longer blame the world for your stagnation. You can no longer pretend you're just a victim of circumstance. You realize that you've been feeding these spirits daily, through your silence, through your comfort, through your avoidance. And that realization stings. But it's also the most powerful thing you'll ever face, because once you see it, you can change it. So I'll ask you something now, and I want you to answer with your whole being. Are you willing to be free, even if it costs you your old self? Because if the answer is yes, then the war is already shifting. You're no longer prey. You're no longer asleep. You're no longer theirs. You're becoming something they cannot hold, something they cannot touch. You're becoming whole again. How to spiritually starve the demonic forces inside you. Now that we've exposed the 7 energies, the question becomes, how do we live in such a way that they can no longer touch us? This isn't about casting them out with rituals or magic words. It's about starving them to death. Because these forces don't survive by force, they survive by permission. They feed off your attention, your habits, your unconscious choices. And the moment you stop feeding them, they lose their grip. That's the beginning of true spiritual sovereignty. But this kind of freedom doesn't come cheap. It costs you everything that isn't real. It costs you your illusions, your distractions. Jeu comfort sonis. And that's why most people never step into it. Not because they're weak, but because they're addicted to being small. You must decide right now if you are willing to become untouchable, not by fighting harder, but by becoming more aligned than these forces can tolerate. Let's start with self-sabotage. You don't overcome it by motivation. You overcome it by obedience, not to fear, not to shame, but to your soul. Every time you show up when you don't feel ready, you burn that demon's grip. Every time you move forward in small steps instead of waiting for perfection, you dismantle the lie that says you're not worthy. Self-sabotage only exists where permission exists. It needs you to agree with it. Withdraw your agreement. When the old voice says, "Maybe tomorrow," you say, "No. I start now." And then you follow through. Not because you feel brave, but because you refuse to abandon yourself again. That's how you break it. You don't need to feel powerful. You just need to act like someone who remembers they are. Distraction is next. This one is killed by devotion. Not religious devotion. Sacred focus. You must reclaim your time like it is holy, because it is. Every second of your life is a seed, and most people are sowing theirs into nothing. You must become ruthless with your attention. Choose boredom over overstimulation. Choose silence over scrolling. Choose purpose over pleasure. Not because you're trying to be holy, but because your soul is starving, and noise is not food. Have you noticed how your mind panics in the presence of stillness? That's the spirit of distraction panicking. It knows that if you get quiet long enough, you'll hear your real self whispering again. And that whisper will destroy everything false. Start small. 10 minutes a day of total focus. No phone, no noise. And watch how fast the fog begins to lift. To destroy shame, you must practice radical acceptance. Not the trendy kind. The sacred kind. This means looking at your past, your pain, your mess, and saying, "Not it's okay, but I still belong." Shame wants to convince you that you are unworthy of access to God, to love, to power. But here's the secret. Shame cannot survive where truth is spoken out loud. Speak your story. Tell your truth, even if your voice shakes. Especially if your voice shakes. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be honest. Because exposure is the weapon shame fears most. When you bring your secrets into the light, they lose their power. When you say, "Yes, I did that," and "Yes, I am still chosen," shame has no choice but to bow. You are not broken. You are becoming. Comparison dies in the presence of embodiment. Every time you start to compare, shift your focus back to your frequency. What are you here to say? What were you born to build? What energy do you carry that no one else can duplicate? You kill comparison by creating, by serving, by showing up in your own lane so fully that you no longer need to watch anyone else's. Don't try to be better. Try to be truer. Because the world doesn't need the best, it needs the realist. Every time you post your truth, paint your vision, speak your knowing, or move in your flow, you are reclaiming spiritual territory. You are proving to your soul that it is safe to be seen. And the moment you stop hiding, comparison loses its grip. Fear as wisdom can only survive in the absence of courageous action. This spirit thrives on hesitation. So the way to kill it is through movement. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop praying for every step to be revealed before you start. That's not faith. That's fear in disguise. Real wisdom says, I don't know exactly what's next, but I trust what's now. You don't need the whole map. You need to take the next step. Every time you act from your spirit before your fear catches up, you break the pattern. You train your nervous system to stop worshiping safety. And slowly, decision by decision, you become someone who walks not by sight, not by certainty, but by alignment. That's the most dangerous kind of person in the world. Someone who moves when spirit says move. Apathy is burned out by intimacy. To reconnect your heart, you must feel again. Let yourself cry. Let yourself sing. Let yourself be overwhelmed by beauty and wonder and grief and rage and love. Apathy numbs you because it's afraid of pain. But pain is proof that your soul is still alive. The goal isn't to avoid it. The goal is to bring it to the altar. Worship when you don't feel like it. Pray when it feels empty. Love when it feels pointless. That's how you train your heart to return. You don't wait for feeling. You lead it. And the more you choose intimacy with God, with others, with yourself, the more your soul begins to thaw. And that's when the fire returns, not as a spark, but as a wild blaze. And finally, division. You kill it with humility and communion. You reconnect. You forgive. You reach across the line. You stop needing to be right all the time. You stop labeling others as lower or asleep because they believe differently than you. You stop isolating yourself in the name of spiritual superiority. You realize that awakening is not a competition. It's a collective remembrance. And you choose to become a bridge, not a barrier. Division cannot stand in the presence of someone who carries unconditional love, because love is not an emotion. It is a spiritual frequency that dissolves every illusion of separation. And when you walk in that frequency, demons scatter, not because you shouted, but because you embodied heaven. So now I ask you this, what are you willing to become now that nothing is holding you back but your own agreements? Will you keep feeding the forces that feed on you? Or will you rise, not in ego, but in essence? Because the moment you stop aligning with what holds you back, you begin aligning with what sets you free. And when that happens, these energies, these ancient patterns lose their power. Not because they disappeared, but because you remembered who you are. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are awakening. You are dangerous. You are dangerous.